Hey everyone, welcome to Adoramacinema. My name is Julian, and today I want to talk to you about how to get more clients, get better clients, retain clients, just get clients in general. And I could totally talk about this by myself, but I wanted to invite my friend and business partner, Ben. Ben's the managing director here at Huckleberry Creative. We just match up really, really well. We're like puzzle piece. It's like he has the left brain and I have the right brain. We've been operating for give or take a decade separately. So we have really good insight, but it's completely different insight. So I think it's going to be really valuable for you. And Ben, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks
Yeah,
for convincing me to get in front of the camera for the first time.
absolutely. I'm going to start us off by just telling the audience what I tell just the most basic 101 person that wants to be a photographer or a filmmaker. How do you get clients just in general? Like, what can I do? What do I do? I don't know where to start, right? My story is really this. I found photography and filmmaking because I loved it. And I just loved it so much, I fell in love with it, right? And so I tell people be so passionate that it's contagious. And what does that mean? That means not in an annoying way or like a salesman-y way, but I love photography and filmmaking so much, and I love my camera, and I love making stuff, but I haven't really made it yet. What did I do? I let everybody know on Facebook. I let everybody know on the street. I always say the pizza shop, the coffee shop, the restaurant, the gym, your friends, their parents, they know what I do because I love it so much.
Can I ask you what came first for you? Like you bought your camera. Do you remember who your first client was?
Probably like family photos. It was like I bought this camera and I love it so much. And so I'm just telling people about it and I want to take people's pictures. And so like, yeah, the local family and their dog like wants a family photo at the beach. Or like somebody I know is like an author and she wanted a cover for a book. And I thought it was like the biggest job in the world. My point is like you have to put yourself out there. If somebody's watching and they're like, how do I do that? That's so daunting. Like that's crazy. Well, just like a quick role play, I walk into a pizza shop and I'm like, "Hey, no pressure whatsoever. I'm just introducing myself. My name's Julian. I live down the street. I love your pizza. I also love photography and filmmaking. Like, can I work for you? Can I take some pictures for you? Can I shoot some video for you? Like, I don't even need to charge you. Like, I just want to do it." The no pressure thing just immediately removes um, that person's wall.
Yeah, I mean, when you've done that in the past, do you feel like you had to trial and error it a little bit? Like, did you come in the first time and be like, "Hey, can you hire me?" And they were like, "Whoa."
I mean, I've, of course, learned so much over the years, and the people that are listening get to hear the most recent information, right? Like,
Yeah,
they don't have to have made the mistakes for the last 10 or 15 years that I made.
yeah,
So my point is be so passionate that it's contagious. If you're at base level 101 and you're trying to get work, and your friends and their parents and your parents' friends and the person down the street doesn't know what you do, that's a problem. They need to know what you do. You have to put yourself out there. You're sitting at home, people aren't calling me. How do I get work? You have to go out there. Post on LinkedIn, post on Facebook, walk the streets, tell people what you do. I've been posting on Facebook and sharing my photos for almost 15 years. Those people I went to high school with eventually got good jobs.
yeah.
Some of them needed my services. They saw my stuff time and time again, and they were like, "Okay, Julian does this."
Yeah, it's like the tree falls in the forest thing. Like, if you're making great work, but no one even knows you exist, you're not going to sell more work, you know? You're just a guy with a camera. I'm not as good at wanting to put myself out there. It's not my natural, like, most comfortable spot. That's why I was joking earlier about you've gotten me in front of the camera now. I like
Yeah.
being behind the camera. So that's an approach that's really worked for you. For me, like, one of the things that we've thought about is just like the supply demand curve, you know? Like, there's two ways to get it. Either having inbound people coming to you, which is like the ideal, right? Like you have so many people calling for you to help them that you can't even field all the work. To me, I'm like the way you do that is similar to what you're saying. Be really passionate about what you're doing. be so good they can't ignore you and just create awesome work, you know? If you're posting incredible work on Instagram, eventually people are gonna start calling and being like, "Could you do this for my my brand? Could you do this for me? I'm a musician," or whatever. And the other side is like the outbound marketing, which, you know, I come from a creative writing background. I love storytelling. I don't naturally love selling. It's just, I don't love the business side of it. It's not like what gets me up in the morning. What gets me up in the morning is like telling the stories, right? So I think the way I've approached the outbound marketing thing is by trying to see like, what am I actually passionate about doing? And where do I think I could help people? I've looked a lot toward like trying to find a business that seems like they really need what I do well, and then approaching them with an offer that they can't refuse, so to speak, you know, where, hey, you have an existing problem that I can help solve for you. And the ask is low enough that they're not going to immediately put their guards up and say no, you know?
Yeah, it's when I hear it, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, of course." It's super calculated, and it feels like maybe I'm, like, throwing darts at a wall and trying to figure out which one sticks, and your approach is a bit more calculated. I like the filter that you put things through.
Yeah, it's a little more analytical maybe, but I think we're both coming from it from a passion for what we do, right? Like we're not selling something we don't actually believe in. That's got to be at the heart, like at the very beginning, because that really makes selling a little bit more natural. My wife and I, when we started Huckleberry, we started in a similar way, like really small, you know, working with a local real estate agent, a friend of a friend, and then trying to snowball that into the next thing, into the next thing. And a key goal of ours was really trying to talk about, well, where did we want to be? Like maybe in 2 years or in 10 years, what's the work we wanted to be creating? And then thinking through how could we maneuver our way from what we're currently doing to what we want to do. We say this a lot of like, is this my dream job or is this a stepping stone to my dream job? And if it's neither, you probably shouldn't be doing it, because I'm sure you feel this like that we always say like you get hired for the thing you did last. A lot of clients or potential clients want to see the exact thing you're selling to them. Where we can make what we call like an anthem video or a hero video, whether it's a dentist's office or a Fortune 500 brand, it's kind of the same thing, you know, framework wise. It's just you're pointing your camera at something different. But that Fortune 500, say, beverage brand wants to see what's the last beverage video you made. So if you're not pursuing and doing that kind of work, you're going to have a hard time selling those bigger clients in the field you want to be in. Have you done music before? And if you've only done real estate agent videos, then, you know, it's going to be a hard sell.
That helps bridge to the next thing I think that we wanna talk about is if people are watching and they're like, "Well, Julian, you're talking about, like, making a free commercial for the local pizza shop, like, I'm trying to pay my bills." It's a snowball, right? So the example that you just made, if you only have real estate videos, but you wanna do music, the next step is you are going to have to do something with you're gonna have to start doing music, and potentially it's gonna have to be for free. I have never become better than doing spec work, doing work for free, and I look at it as investing in myself, right? So, we're just gonna keep using the pizza shop example because why not? Not only am I gonna come away with a pizza commercial content that's professional that I can then use to sell myself and share to other people. I can then approach another restaurant and another restaurant, another restaurant. It's a snowball effect. Yes, the first job was free, but it's going somewhere. And then there's unintended consequences, like the owner or the guy that works at the bar or something, they might hear somebody talking about needing a video and they might be like, "Oh, I know a guy."
Yeah.
Right? There's just so many cool
You've done an awesome job of that, I think, of like, you're not even talking about the fact that the more you do work, the better you get as a DP or a storyteller.
we're not only talking to the one-on-one group that's like just starting, but I think people 5, 10, 15 years down the road can still pick up something from
Yeah.
this because they could be like, "Oh, you know what? I haven't done something for fun in a while, or I haven't invested in myself for a while." Or like, "Yeah, the phone doesn't ring anymore." Well, what are you gonna do about it? Like, go out and make something and
Uh-huh.
or hit the pavement, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even once you sort of hit that plateau of where you have a self-sustaining business and this is actually like your career, it's paying your bills. it's really easy to fall into the rut of like just creating client work. And you're like, you can see the spec work or the original work is like, ah, that's important, non-urgent. And you're just constantly doing the important, urgent stuff to the point where you're like, you don't make anything creative or you're maybe not even creatively fulfilled. So I feel like your approach to this, and tell me if you agree, is like you just want as many at bats as possible. You're constantly going up there and swinging. And just because you're putting yourself out there and your competition isn't, like eventually you're going to start hitting home runs. And it's like, I think that's one reason why you've had such a growth story on Instagram. I don't know if you agree with that.
I haven't really thought about it that way until you just said it, but it's kinda like what I was just saying about, like, throwing darts at the wall.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not, like, completely reckless and not calculated,
Yep.
but I'm also trying to figure out what I do like still. People are like, "Oh, you need to niche down," and it's like, not if I don't feel like it, you
Yeah.
know? I'm still trying to figure out what I love,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm actually starting to figure that out after all this time.
Yeah, we came up in the era of, unpaid internships, which are, like, their own thing. I'm against unpaid internships, and I think a lot of, like, our generation has this, like, visceral reaction to, quote, unquote, "working for free." But the way I think of it is, like, not all opportunities are created equally.
Hmm.
You know, oftentimes an unpaid internship in college is, like, you're just pushing papers, and maybe the executives or the company you're at is so big, they don't even notice you. That sucks, like, you're not being valued for your work. On the flip side, if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start your own video production business, you gotta bet on yourself and, like, see the opportunities of, like, if you're getting your foot in the door for this thing, what could that be five projects down the line? So we've done that a lot where we saw an opportunity and thought, man, this would be worth it to. I have an idea in my mind what I'd like to be making per project or what my day rate is, but I'm willing to drop that to get this person to say yes because I think if I can get this job, I'll be so good they won't ignore me. You know, I'm going to knock this out of the park for them. And I think there will be a snowball of like, what's project 2, 3, and 4. And that's been really helpful for us, at least. I think it's important to say, like, you and I aren't doing a bunch of work for free all the time. It's, like, strategic about this, you know? We get paid to make videos for our career. So 9 times out of 10, we are getting paid and, you know, working with brands, but we've built to that. Like, and so I think sometimes I've noticed in conversations with people that they want to make sure that they're valued and they're getting paid what they're worth. But they start out at that number. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm worth $2,000 a day. And then if a local pizza shop can't pay that, then they're not going to budge. And so all of a sudden they're just not really doing a lot of work. Meanwhile, someone else could be like, I'm going to work for $500 today and then $1,000 the next day, $1,500 the next day. And they start growing because there's that momentum of they're meeting people, they're doing a project that they can sell to the next restaurant. At that restaurant, that person happens to know a local artist. That local artist works with the manager who happens to be with this big time artist. And all of a sudden, because you have humility and you're ready to just hustle and outwork everyone, you end up getting higher than what your intended day rate was when you first started.
If the goal of this conversation can be boiled down into like 20 seconds, like what you just said is it, I think.
That's the bumper.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, I think a big part of it too, though, is like thinking about long term, not just like getting the sale, but like what happens next.
Mm,
You get someone to be like, sure, I want to work with you. To me, that's just as important of a part of selling as any, where it's like you have the inquiry process, you close the deal. Well, now you have to deliver. And to me, I'm like, as someone who naturally doesn't want to sell, I like this part the best because that's what I'd like to be doing all day. It's just creating things that I'm passionate about. So if you over deliver in a weird way, I almost feel like you're solving the problem by not selling, if that makes any sense.
what do you mean by that?
Like, if you can do excellent work and exceed someone's expectations, treat them really well, have hospitality that is like noticeably different than anyone else, right? Like you're going above and beyond for them, just incredible service, and you're a good person. Uh, they're going to want to hire you for the next job. But they'd have no reason the next time they need photo or video to not come back to you
Yeah.
or to not recommend you to their friends. And so, in that way, you're kind of removing yourself from the sales cycle because you're focusing on creating great work, which then people notice of like, man, that was an incredible video. I need that. So now they're reaching out to you. So you're getting it from the work itself. And then that client is like, well, I need actually this next project. So your initial client is growing to be a long-term client. And then the last part is like they become like a brand disciple for you. They're out there telling their friends how great you are to work with.
I mean, that's
And it's like you have now 100 people that are your salesmen that are working for free just because you've done a great job of selling.
that's best case scenario for sure.
And I'm not there yet, just to be clear, but like that is the goal,
Totally.
to never have to sell.
I'll say that's best case scenario. That's the goal. It's in the people you know. Like, it's not 1,000% in the people you know in your network, but it's like 90% or like 80%. Like, it's a vast majority of like the people you know. How'd you get that job? I went to high school with that person. Or how'd you get that job? That's a friend's parent.
Yeah.
Or how'd you get that job? That person knows somebody that knows somebody. Yes, there are those cold emails that come in, somebody knows you. And then we haven't even talked about social media. People are like, I don't like Instagram, or I do like Instagram. I don't only look at Instagram as a portfolio or a posting thing. That's not even what I use it at all. It's a networking tool. I can do a shout out, or somebody can reach out and be looking for somebody in somewhere, or I just start conversing with somebody. And the next thing you know, they're asking me to go on a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, it's insanely powerful. I kind of like, I want to sell people on Instagram when they're like, I hate Instagram. I know why you hate Instagram. Social media anxiety, posting, like, it's a disaster. But if you can tap into like the networking side of it,
Yeah.
like that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I want to say one last thing to be encouraging to people is that this is a long game. And I've always said it to people is this is a long game. We look at this snowball. Let's look at the snowball that I'm currently working on for myself. Like the work that I have. We're our own worst critic too. When I look at my work, am I like happy? I'm like, I'm like almost getting there. And I'm 15 years after buying a camera.
Yeah.
Okay. So this isn't like like go back and look at my work. I'll go back and look at my work. I'll show whatever. 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Like,
That's good though. I mean,
these are not, but it like people have to understand that this isn't an overnight thing and it's a long game. So this isn't like, let me try to make this pizza commercial tonight. And now I'm going to start doing, Aston Martin
yeah.
car
Yeah.
commercials tomorrow. Like, dude, you have to love it and you have to
People in
keep
dark.
going. Maybe in 5 years,
Yeah.
maybe in 10 years, maybe in 15 years, you'll get some attention.
Yeah.
And so some people, there's some young kids out there that are insane. And after 6 months of picking up a camera, they're shooting national commercials. That's not normal.
Yeah.
And that can make somebody super envious or whatever. Like,
Yeah. It
that's not
shouldn't be your
normal.
plan to like match that, you know,
It's impossible.
it's a lottery ticket in some ways. Talent, but
But it build this, it's how do I get more work? It's here we are. It's start at the bottom and work your way up.
yeah.
When I first got a camera, I had a realtor friend and I was like kind of in an area with a lot of real estate, like high-end real estate. I like faked it till I made it. I took a couple photos of this person's house that was really nice, like 2 interior shots with a Rokinon 14 mm lens.
Yeah.
And I made a piece of paper that had my headshot on the top. And I had like words on it like 4K, like DCI. And
Cinematic.
I had this like jib picture of like a jib that like the local church that I worked at like had for some reason.
You had no idea how to operate it.
I figured it out, but it wasn't like worth anything.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
this was like the ages of the glide cam. Like I had a glide cam picture on there. And I went into the local realtor shop and I was like, "Hey, like, can I start being a photographer for you?" And they were like, "Let's see what you have." Like, cause I had this piece of paper. They're like, "Here, look at it." And it was like, okay, this kid's like somewhat organized. Like he brought this thing. The lady was like, "How much do you charge?" or something. And I was like, "I don't know. Like, how much are you paying?" To like $500 a house, like $1,000 a house. And they were like, No, like we would pay like $200 a house." And I was like, okay. And I started shooting houses. And like 2 or 3 years later, I was charging like 1,000. $1,200, $1,500 for like photo video packages. And I was like working my way out of the market.
Yeah.
Like most people were like, that's way too expensive. But I had just the right amount of clients. And that's when I kind of on the side started working for like people in the film industry,
Yeah.
ACing or operating or something, and then got a taste of real production and started moving into that.
Yeah.
But that's just an example of like going in, being willing to do anything, and then doing it, as you said,
Yeah.
like really well.
It's this supply dem I mean, you had 100% of the supply, meaning 100% of your time available. No one wanted to hire you. It's 0 demand, right? That's $200. You're like, "No one else can hire me." You start moving up the demand curve, you can start lowering your supply. You have less time. So now you start charging more to the point where you're like, "I don't have the ability to shoot these anymore because there are higher paying projects,
Mhm.
that are worth my time more." That's the goal.
Yeah.
But I think it's all comes down to, like, your passion, though, and my passion. Like, it's really hard to sell something if you don't believe in it. And it's so cheesy to say, but the whole, like, "What would you do for free?" You know? I actually think that's a important aspect of this because, like, especially when you're hustling and starting out, it's hard, dude. And if you're not gonna, like, be able to work through it and be like, "I love this more than anything," I would be taking photos and posting it on Instagram even if no one was paying me. That's where people start to see the inauthenticity, and it gets a lot harder to sell because you come off like a used car salesman. But when you're super passionate and love what you do, it's kinda contagious.
Be so passionate that it's contagious.
Yeah. In all of the things that we're talking about, authenticity is kind of like the through line that, uh, you know, you are trying to solve someone's problem. You're coming at them from like a genuine desire to help them. In the middle, like you're investing in yourself. You're doing things that like you want to be doing long term and that you're super passionate about. The kind of things or projects that make you want to like stay up late into the night to edit or to shoot on the weekends to do. It's easy to see that come through in your work, where you're like, "Man, you crushed that shot or crushed that edit." And then the last part is, like, not just seeing someone as, like, a closed deal and then moving on to the next deal, where it's like, "Well, wait, you have to execute." It's like, "I don't care. I've already signed that. Now I'm gonna go focus on the next, big client to sell." Like, nurturing them, like, you told them that you could solve a problem. Now that they've paid you, go exceed their expectations, and I think that's another major part of being authentic. It's like closing the gap of or closing the cycle of, creating excellent work. That's what generates more and more work in the long run.
Mm, absolutely. The same thing with like going into the pizza shop and being like, "Hey, no pressure, but I'm here and like I'd love to help you. Like, do you need help?"
Uh-huh.
They could say no, but like go do that to like 10 places because if you ask 10 places, number one, the worst thing that's going to happen is that they're going to say no. That's not that big of a deal.
It's almost a good thing. You need to get used to being told no in this business.
But that's the worst thing that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I tell people that all the time, like, write the email. Like, the worst thing that's gonna happen is they're not gonna respond to the email.
which is where you're at
Right now,
anyway.
it's fine. So, practical things like putting yourself out there. That same pizza thing, "Hey, no pressure, this is me," you can do in an email. You can do on LinkedIn messages.
Yeah,
You can do it on Facebook messages. You can do it in person. You can shake people's hands. You can ask for marketing managers in offices in your local neighborhood.
yeah,
Whatever it is. If you write 100 emails or 10 emails, they're gonna be copy and paste for the most part.
uh-huh.
The worst thing that's gonna happen is people are gonna not answer or say no. That's not that big of a deal. But I guarantee you, if you write 10 emails or 100 emails or talk to 5 people or 10 people or 50 people, there's going to be people that say, "Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll give you a shot." The next is, like, sharing and putting yourself out there. I talked to some folks, it's really encouraging. I'll, like, coach some people on FaceTime or something. We'll have this conversation, next thing we'll know, they'll be putting out, like, really good work. Like,
yeah,
they weren't doing it before for some reason.
yeah,
And, like, look at the comments, and it's, like, really encouraging stuff. So that's another thing is sharing your work. If you're not putting your stuff on LinkedIn, if you're not putting your stuff on Facebook, if you're not putting your stuff on Instagram, putting your work out there, then how are people gonna know what you do?
yeah.
You have to. What are a couple practical things that you can share?
I think, I mean, from what you're saying, like, one of the next steps is like that truly trying to help someone, right? Like, I think the negative side of what you're saying, you're not saying this, but like where that could go wrong is if you're just like spamming. You're just like finding 100 emails and sending them all out. You don't even care. I think what's really helpful is to figure out like what are the brands that you actually believe in? And then where do you see gaps in their marketing? You might see a company that you really like that's in your neighborhood or town, and they haven't made a video in 5 years. The last video they made was like 2014. That's a prime person to like you come to them with a cold email saying, "Hey, I saw your brand video. It was cool, but it hasn't been updated in 10 years. Like, I'd love to help you refresh that." That's an immediate need they already have that you can solve, as opposed to emailing someone who just dropped a brand video yesterday and being like, "I think I could help you with your brand video." It's like, well, this person didn't even look at my website, you know?
Totally. If somebody's just on the street, young filmmaker, what do you say to somebody that's just looking for some advice?
Nothing that's I've come up with, but just the idea of like being so good they can't ignore you. You know, I'm sure you felt this. We've worked with a ton of people who start as a PA or who are in college and just want to help out. And the people that are like so easy to work with have such a great attitude. They're never too good for something like to take the trash to the dumpster because they think that they're going to be a director. It's like you probably could be a director one day, but like just being a great person to be around, especially when you're starting out, those are the people that I call my first call every time I need someone else.
For sure.
And I've noticed those same people outside of working with Huckleberry. They're working all the time and they're working with cooler and cooler things. Like they're crushing it. And some of these people haven't even graduated college yet. But I think it's because they have such a great attitude. They work really hard. They're easy to work with and be around on set. And they have a genuine passion for like what they want to do. So
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
that's great. I mean, that's work ethic, basically.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a couple little examples. Absolutely to work ethic. You know, there's people that are in your life, in my life, that I can think of that are just like, that person's a beast, like always. Like, never have to tell them what to do. They just know, anticipating what I need next.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about, but I'll just mention it quickly, like reaching out to like either rental houses or DPs or ops or ACs that just like need help. And people might be listening to this and be like, "Oh, I've reached out to you and like you didn't do anything about it." Like, I don't need a brand new person that I've never worked with, every day somebody reaches out or something. But I'll tell you what, stay relentless and keep reaching out to people.
Yeah.
Keep reaching out to me, keep reaching out to people, because there's gonna be a perfect time thing. I just had someone reach out, an audio person reach out to me the other day. They've reached out before in the past, and, it was, like, perfect timing, like, absolute perfect timing. Just got off a phone call, and it's like, "I'm so glad this person messaged me." It's not the first time they messaged me.
Uh-huh.
They messaged me, and it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Another example is a good friend of mine now, who I work with. His name's Sam. Um, he reached out to me in the past. I didn't see his message, not on purpose, because you can't see a lot of your messages. He reached out to me a second time. I was in LA and I needed some help. What he wrote in his message, I was like, yes, absolutely. It was like, I am willing to do whatever you need.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna guess. I'm like, did he offer to be helpful as
It
opposed to, can you give me a job? You know?
it was just like, it wasn't desperate. It wasn't off-putting. It was just like, I have the work ethic of an animal and I'm willing to do anything.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect timing message. I was like, I need you. I need pickups all across LA
Yeah.
and I need you to meet me at the location tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he was like, done. And he's like my good buddy now.
I feel like that's the perfect summation of this whole conversation because what that guy did is what you were doing at the pizza shop. You know, he was like, I'm offering to help solve a problem for you. And there's always going to be a demand for people that need their problems solved, you know? So you were like, great, can you be there tomorrow? And now you're like, that's your guy, you know? So it's like 10 years down the line, you're like, how did this start? I don't know, a random DM where I just said I could be helpful and I'm ready to do whatever it takes. Maybe that's the through line through all this.
I love it. Well, thanks so much for chatting.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back behind the camera now.
All right. Me too.